Why, hello there, I'm Dr. Lucky, and this week I'm welcoming you to Doc Eon's Monday Miniatures Ramble, where he just finished painting me. Yeah, sorry about that. I just couldn't resist. This is the Dr. Lucky piece. He is for this board game here, Kill Dr. Lucky, and you can see the, well, you can't see the whole illustration, but you can see part of it on the cover. I went for slightly brighter colors. This is just gray and some brown, and it's just too boring. So I went with a bit more like a light vest, some cream or sort of mustard yellow pants, a bit purple on the bow tie. Yeah, thought it made him a bit more interesting. And now it's time for the Malifaux section, starting off with the Malifaux child, sitting on the floor here with his sickles, knives, or something. I'm not sure. Now, if you compare him to the studio paint job, I'm fairly close. The angle of his right hand is different. That's because the angle I placed it in was the only way I could get a good glue bond. So he looks a bit twisted there perhaps, but it's actually stronger than trying to place it in line. I would have had to do a lot more customizing to make that fit. But I'm pretty happy overall with how he turned out. Next in size is Misaki, where I experimented a bit with a new technique for her skin tones, sort of pale Asian skin tone is what I was going for. I'm not sure how well that worked out. I think I've mentioned purple is a difficult color to get right. I'm fairly close to the colors in the studio paint job. I just didn't do the fades between the colors. They done from purple to blue on both garments, a sort of wet blend. It must be a wet blend. I can't see how else they would have gotten that effect. I decided not to go for that. I kept the two garments separate because, I don't know, it just didn't make any sense to me. Why would somebody dye a dress like that? I don't think that would be happening. The tricky thing about this model is the weapon, because it keeps getting bent. There's no way to keep this shaft straight. Even the part after the hand here, the blade, keeps getting bent out of shape. Oh well. That's a hazard of metal minis. And finally, we have this imposing figure. I think I need to go back a bit longer out like this. This is Killjoy, and where I have experimented a bit with some blood effects on his axe and his meat hook and on the exposed parts of him. And hopefully you can see the bandages here are a slightly different color than his skin. And again, I was inspired by the studio paint job. I went less pink than they did. I went more with a greenish yellow, kind of unhealthy cast. Sure, the pale pink looks really gross too. And I didn't go for quite. He has in this picture. There's blood on all the bandages. I didn't really go for that. I just went for where it would drop off the axe or the hook. There's some blood spatter on the ground and on his feet and down this leg. But yeah, I'm pretty pleased with this effect in total. All my in-progress work this week is Malifaux, and here's the War Wabbit again. He's got a little bit more paint on him. Not a whole lot happened since last time. Work continues apace. And then we have the avatars. For the actual models themselves, they are just primed. Here we have the Victorias, fully assembled, gap filled, and primed. And here's Zoraida. What I have done is more or less completed their bases. Well, we take Zoraida first. She has this base which is included in the kit, which has this tree, a bit of a crow there, and a golem coming up out of the ground. I suppose that's supposed to be bad juju. You have a little doll here. Now, since Zoraida will be standing on here, it is a little empty here. I'm gonna have to think of something to fill that, maybe some shrubbery or something. I should have placed the tree a bit more in that direction perhaps. Or I can fill it out with these. These are various little dolls that Zoraida surrounds herself with. For the Victorias, there was no base provided, so I picked out this Micro Arts plastic base and painted up. It's very glossy right now. This is not the final finish. That will be done after I've assembled everything. I'm thinking she could be standing here or here on these stones, because she's leaning slightly back, so she should be on the edge and leaning inward towards the base. Whereas Victoria Blood here, she's leaping forward, she's angled. I think she should be taking off from this stone here at an angle. It's hard to imagine, but yeah, I think that will work out very nicely. And hopefully all these will be done by next week. So as far as adding new stuff to my queue, I'm currently thinking, because I have this other big project running currently, I don't really want to add any new actual miniatures, at least character miniatures, to the list of stuff to do. But I might do some scenery just for the change of pace. So I picked out some smaller bits of scenery I have here that are unfitted. The first is a village well. It's, yeah, simply a well with a rim. One piece, no problem at all. The second is a small wagon, which is in a few pieces. We have the bed of the wagon, we have 2 wheels, it might be a cart, and we have some bits, I suppose. No, this is for the axle to hold the wheels underneath, and this is maybe something in front. I'll figure it out. And finally we have a table. Let's see if we can unpack this and see what it looks like. Yeah, I'm probably not going to use that base for it. This is simple enough. It's just one piece for the bed of the table. Oh, and the table has some stuff on it. An open book and a couple of candles. That's interesting. But yeah, I can do those in between the miniature painting. So the main reason that total looks so positive is that I didn't have any new arrivals the past week. No new shipments of stuff. But I know there's a lot of stuff incoming, so I need to build a buffer. Anyway, what can I do to close out this episode in lieu of showing you new models? Well, I thought because I mentioned last time that I'd gotten this role-playing game version of Malifaux, and I've now read through the first book, The Fated Almanac, which is the player's book, and I thought I'd give you my first impressions of it. And the impressions are positive because the rule system is basically very similar to the miniatures game, meaning that it's a tried and tested system. It's gonna work. it has been, let me put it this way, simplified in one respect and complicated in another. The simplification is that generally when you do a duel in the role-playing game, instead of two players flipping cards against each other, as in the miniatures game, it's simply the player flipping a card against a set target number. So the Game Master, or Fate Master, never flips cards. And this, of course, reduces handling time quite a lot, speeds up play. And I think it's necessary, because otherwise there would be a lot of... It would be really complicated for the Game Master to have one deck and the players to have another. It's just too much stuff to deal with. So that's simpler. What's more complicated? Well, in a role-playing game, you need to do more than just fights. So you need to have rules for doing social interactions and exploration, investigation, that sort of thing, which means the player characters have to have more variety in their skills than a model in the miniatures game, which the models in the miniatures game just have combat statistics, and that's it. So, but anybody who plays role-playing games is used to that sort of complexity. That's not an issue. And yeah, so so far it looks good. Now the important thing, the question of whether you can run a good game in this setting, is of course how good is the Game Master's book? Does it provide the tools you need to build good adventures and campaigns? And I haven't read that book yet, but the player's book looks good. So I'll end it here and say thank you for watching this video. Hope to see you again next week. Until then, I'm Doc Eon, and I'm signing off.